Why? I mean, I thought you're a Democrat, I'm a Republican, or vice versa, and we fight it out. Why have no labels?
No labels means you can have your label, I can have my label, but there's times when we kind of need to put our labels aside and work to problem solve on the various issues that the country needs us to work on. And so we have strong Democrats, strong Republicans a part of us, and together, those that want to work together can be a part of No Labels because they've got an attitude that says, we want to fix some of the dysfunction in Washington, D.C., and work together to do it.
Mm-hmm. You making any progress?
We are. We now have hundreds and thousands of citizen supporters across the country who are a part of our digital network, and we have champions in all 435 congressional districts who are a part of our network, and we're very excited about the citizen involvement. I think a lot of people outside the Beltway can see that we really need members of Congress to sit down together, get to know each other, tell the full truth, govern for the future, put the country first, be responsible, but now always try to work together and try to solve the country's problems.
Clarine Nardi Riddle is with us. She is a co-founder of No Labels. She's a former chief of staff to Senator Joseph Lieberman, an independent, and also former Attorney General of Connecticut. She'll be speaking in Morgantown tonight as part of WVU's Week of Engagement. And people say things like that. I don't mean that derogatorily, but they'll say things,
No.
and then they get to Washington, and then they find out, wow, if I vote like this, I'm going to get skewered by the people, by my party, or a segment of my party, or a particular interest group. I mean, just skewered, and you see it happen all the time. So trying to be a person that subscribes to a no-label philosophy is wrought with peril, political peril, is it not?
Well, people have to decide when they are elected to office. There's campaigns, but there's also a big part of their job is governing. And governing means that you look at the problems for the country, you look at the problems for the future, and you say, what do I need to do to help to get those things addressed? And, there's always going to be hurdles. There's always going to be, somebody that's going to have a counter argument or a counter talking point. And so, it's a process. It's a process, and it's a communication process, and it's a working together process. And so, yes, there's always challenges, but people of goodwill who say they want to sit down together, work together, and try to solve problems, it can happen.
I agree.
It can happen.
I agree with you because that's how people conduct their lives every day.
Right.
And so I agree with you completely. The problem is you alluded to something very significant. That is the campaign. Campaign never stops now. I mean, the campaign is going on 24/7. So the governing is almost supplanted by the campaigning because nobody says, well, the campaign's over and we'll get back together in a year and a half. We'll look at what your record is. I mean, it's instant now. You know that. If somebody does something, boom, I'm getting stuff in my email box all the time.
Right. So it takes strong leaders. It takes individuals to say, yep, I know you're saying that, but we have this problem, and we're a part of No Labels with an attitude to solve problems. And we want to get to know our colleagues across the aisle, because once we get to know them, we're finding that with No Labels problem solvers, we now have 60 members in the House and Senate, 63 members in the House and Senate who have agreed to meet regularly, to build some trust across the aisle, and get to know each other and start talking about issues that they can hopefully come to terms with and an agreement on, and together go forward. Common sense reforms to really make government work.
Clarine Nardi, Riddle is with us, and she's co-founder of No Label. She's going to be the keynote speaker at the WVU Week of Engagement event, and she's going to be at Lakeview in Morgantown tonight. This thing is going on today and tomorrow. You know, I think, and as we've talked about, Clarine, here concerning, for example, the debt,
Right.
and there are other organizations that have sprung up and said, look, you really can solve this, but you got to give a little, get a little. I mean, both sides have to do something. The Democrats are going to have to give on the social programs, on retirement age or Medicare, and Republicans have to give maybe on the tax collection side or so. So there's a way forward, but you can't get there with one side or the other, just with one way or the other.
Exactly, exactly. We've had a message at No Labels, which is everything on the table and everybody around the table. And you know, it's really important that those opportunities exist. And Hoppy, I don't know if you know, but in this town, there's a lot of meetings where it's just Democrats sitting together or Republicans sitting together, and you can't solve problems that way. The committees are supposed to be doing a lot of this work, but sometimes if you watch C-SPAN, you only see a couple members sitting at a committee hearing, and it's really important that we all in this country, citizens across the country, urge our members to work across the aisle. Look, we've got a Republican House and we've got a Democratic Senate, and we can't just always wait for an election that people dream will happen and then the world will be perfect. We have to reach across the aisle. That's the reality, and we have to come to some compromise. Compromise is a funny word, but we have to come to some agreements to solve these problems. But I totally agree with you.
Well, that's I appreciate it. Clarine Nardi Riddle, co-founder of No Labels, and by the way, the national leaders of No Labels are Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, Governor John Huntsman, Republican from Utah. You're going to be in town tonight speaking at Lakeview. The event continues tomorrow, so we look forward to that. Appreciate you coming to West Virginia, and thanks for talking to us today.
Thank you, Hoppy.